related queries. And before we do that, viewers, the number that you can write to us will be flashing on the top of your screens and on your screens as well. Now, when you do write to us, do remember to mention the buy price in terms of the stocks that you're already invested in. And if you're looking for fresh investment ideas, make sure that you mention the time horizon that you then have in mind. But with that, let's also kickstart taking all of your stock related queries. And currently we have Lancelot Dikuna joining us, who's a Chief Investment Officer at ValueX Wealth Connect. Lancelot, thank you so much for taking time out and joining us. The first query that we have is coming from Venkat Rao from Vishakhapatnam, wants to know about BML and BEL for 1 year. What do you have in mind when it comes to both of these counters?
So I think, given that the government is going to continue to, give orders for in the defense sector, and that is a trust area, both BML and BEL would generate good amount of order flow, leading to increased, let's say, revenues and profitability. But of the two, I would prefer, like say, BEL, Bharat Electronics, because BEL's business is a lot more on the technical side, and there are a lot more efficiencies that can be and that are there in the company, which can give it significant operating leverage to improve its profitability as well. So I see that there is significant upside potential in terms of increased revenue and profits from Bharat Electronics as opposed to BML. So this would be an opportune time to start looking to accumulate this stock for a long-term perspective.
Hi Lancelot, Somit also joining in here. The next
Thanks.
query is coming in from Satya. He's holding a few shares of Star Health, but currently sitting on a loss of around 22%. He wants to know whether should he continue to hold this counter, and any other stock that you would suggest that he should switch to make up for the losses that he's currently incurring on Star Health.
So, Star Health is basically in the healthcare insurance business, and being a specialized area, sometimes in order to gain market share, they have to take on business which may not be as profitable. And they don't have the luxury of, let's say, making profits in different areas and that compensating for, the losses in Star Health business. And I think the health insurance business is going to become more, there's going to be more competition. The competitive intensity is going to increase in this space. And so it may margins as well as, growth may become difficult. Also, we are seeing the entry of a lot of digital players entering this space, and insurance is going to be sold through the through telephones and through mobile phones and in a digital manner. So I think given that the competitive intensity is going to increase, it's going to become difficult for these companies to gain market share without compromising on profits. So from a valuation perspective, I would think that it would be better to wait for a while till you get really low valuations, and then one can look at companies like Star Health.
All right, so wait, buy for better valuations. That's a word coming in from Lancelot as well. But I'm going to come right back to you because we do have Ashok writing to us from Bengaluru. Wants to know about Aarti Industries. Now his buy price is at 643 rupees and he's currently holding on to 200 shares. What do you have in mind when it comes to Aarti Industries?
Well, I think Aarti Industries, like many of the companies in the specialty chemical space, has seen, the impact of China sort of increasing its presence in the space, as well as, flooding the market with inventory, which has now brought global prices down of these commodities. So I think given that we are likely to see a bit more, let's say, slowdown in terms of prices as well as margins going forward. So it may take at least another 1 or 2 quarters before we start to see an uptick in this space. One should be, a little bit careful in terms of entering in when valuations are relatively high. So even in Aarti Industries case, I think one should wait, although the core business is going to grow and it's definitely looking promising, given that, people are looking to shift from India plus one, China plus one to India. One should be, be careful of not entering at high valuation. Maybe another 10-15% we could see valuations would then become attractive, and then you can add this into your portfolio.
Right. The next query is from Nikhil Sharma Lancelot. He's asking what would be the right time to sell Kalpatru projects. His buy price is 1,190 rupees. Any suggestions on this counter?
So I think Kalpatru projects is gaining significantly in terms of all the transmission orders that have been awarded by Power Grid. They also have, and with the focus on improving profitability for the transmission business, definitely looks long term looks attractive. But the stock had run up, significantly in the last 1 year, and valuations have become expensive. So if one is making profit, you can still look at booking and then booking profits and then waiting for valuation to correct and then buying into the stock again.
There you go. That's the take coming in as far as Kalpatru projects is concerned. But time for a very quick breather on the show. When we come back, we'll continue taking all of your stock related queries, viewers. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, let's continue taking all of your stock related queries, viewers, then. And we also have Osho Krishnan joining us, who's the senior analyst, technical and derivative research at Angel One. But let's come to you first, Osho. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining us, and good morning. The first one that I have for you is coming in from a viewer named Veni, who's a senior citizen writing to us from Hyderabad. Actually wants to know about Bank of Maharashtra. 2,800 shares is what he's holding on to currently at a buy price of 63 rupees. What do you have in mind when it comes to this particular counter?
Very good morning. Firstly, thank you for having me at the show. Well, now coming to the view on Bank of Maharashtra, then we have seen a very decisive correction from the zone of 70 towards the zone of 48, 50 odd levels. So Benny is holding a position around 63, which was approximately at a very decent consolidation zone. But from there onwards, we have seen a sell-off in the overall market, which led a plunge in this counter. So overall, still, if the view is for longer term perspective, one can still hold this position, because on the lower end, we are having a very strong support around the zone of 47 to 48 odd levels. While from here onwards, if there will be any kind of relief or recovery in the overall market, we can see a gradual up move in this counter towards the zone of 60 to 62. So that is the immediate resistance for the counter. Once it surpasses the zone, then we can see a gradual up move. So for now, one can definitely hold. On the downside, the lower zone is very much limited around 47, while on the higher end, I am expecting a target of nearly 62 for short-term view.
Well, the next query is coming in from the next query is coming in from Satya Veni from Vishakhapatnam. He's a long-term investor. He has around 30 shares of Glenmark Pharma bought at a price of 1,790 rupees per share. He wants to know whether should he continue to hold this counter, average at current level, or exit. Lancelot, any view on Glenmark Pharma?
Yeah, so I think Glenmark Pharma has a couple of life science molecules which are in the pipeline, which will get developed by them for commercial sales. Also, they recently had a plant in Goa inspection, and that was very satisfactorily done. So given that there is a need for the US to reduce its cost of medicines for the healthcare system, and now they have started giving orders to Indian companies to manufacture and sell drugs over there. I think the longer term benefits or growth drivers in this company remain intact despite the fall. Yes, the valuations had were a little stretched at that time, but one can look at either holding on for the long term, or if the price drops a little bit further, then you could always average out at this level, because long term growth potential is good for Glenmark Pharma.
All right, so there's a long runway of growth coming in for Glenmark Pharma. But Lancelot, I'm going to come right back to you, because we do have Mohit also writing to us from Ludhiana. Wants to know about Coal India. He has 500 shares at a buy price of 152 rupees, and the time horizon that he's looking at is 2 years. What do you have in mind when it comes to this particular counter?
So I think Coal India definitely has good growth going forward. We've seen the deliveries of coal increase in terms of production. So, and the demand for coal is growing, especially from the power sector in India. So the long-term potential is good. But what happened in this company was, along with all the other PSUs, the stocks had run up significantly ahead of earnings and valuations had really become stretched. So now what we are seeing is a correction in terms of valuation. So if one has bought at high prices, you may see a further downside potential before one can look to accumulate or average out on this counter, because valuations are still expensive in this space.
Right. The next query is from Viru Paksha from Bangalore. He has around 26 shares of Raymond bought at a price of 2,000 rupees. Currently, he's sitting on a 25% loss. Osho, should he average more at this level or exit this counter? Would you be able to give a technical view on this, given the fact that there has been a corporate action here?
Yes, so overall, there has been a decent correction in this counter from the higher zone of nearly 2,300 odd levels towards 1,500. But if we plot a longer term duration chart perspective of this counter, then it has given a kind of a breakout from the zone of 1,350 odd levels. So in the last week, we have seen a kind of a tick coming towards the zone of 1,300. So that should be acting as a retesting of the breakout. So I expect that from here onwards, again, the trend is southwards. The counter is into a deep correction, but the zone of nearly 1,350, 1,400 can give some kind of cushion to this counter. So if one is holding this counter for a medium to long term position, then one can definitely keep holding it. Average is expected to doing around the zone of 1,350 to 1,400, not at current levels. Or if there will be any kind of reversal in the trend and the counter surges above the zone of 1,700, then only it will be advisable to average the stock at a higher levels.
All right, then that is about Raymond. I'm going to come right back to you, Lancelot, because we do have Gautam writing to us from Mumbai. He wants to know about a couple of counters. In fact, he wants to know if this is a good time to enter any of these two counters, and if not, what are the price levels that you have in mind for Bharti Airtel as well as Ipca Labs, and the time horizon that he then is looking at is 12 to 18 months.
So I think Bharti Airtel is a very interesting case because the last increase in mobile tariffs was happened recently, and I think we are going to see further increases in tariffs because there is a need to increase the tariffs so that Vodafone can also become take care of its debt and its operating issues. So in that sense, the benefit will come to Bharti Airtel, which with Reliance Jio is the largest, the larger players in the space. And so whatever increase in tariff happens, that would benefit them in terms of giving them, contribution straight to the EBITDA. And we see that this, use case is also increasing. The use of data is increasing considerably. And so the phone companies are benefiting from the increased data usage. So when the rates go up, they will get a multiplier effect. So one should look at definitely, adding Bharti Airtel to the portfolio. And the other stock you mentioned was Ipca Labs. Yeah. So Ipca Labs also has done well, and like the other pharma companies should see good order traction from both the US as well as its domestic market share as well. It should be improving. But like you had seen, the stock had risen considerably. So maybe another further 8-10% below from this level would make it an attractive option to buy into the stock as well.
Well, that was Lancelot's view when it comes to Bharti Airtel and Ipca Labs. With that, let's slip into a short break and we'll address more of your queries post that.
चीज में हम हैं ना, अगर आपकी उम्मीद खास हो, जुड़े हैं हम 140 करोड़ लोगों से, चारों ओर देखो तो एहसास हो, विचार नए हैं तो अब नया विकास हो. Wellspun World.
Introducing monthly expiries in gold, 1 kilogram, options, available for trading from Monday, 11th November 2024. Refer to circular on mcxindia.com.
Founded presents Triumph, India's leading virtual career fair for diversity. Discover over 5,000 jobs at companies that celebrate you. Find a workplace that's equally yours between the 12th to the 14th of November. Enroll now.
I want to soar above the skies and fulfill my responsibilities. With LIC, Paid your LIC premium? On time. दिल की सुनो, LIC चुनो.
LIC हर पल आपके साथ.
टिप चाहिए? पैसा लगाना है? तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ. डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा और मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा. अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है? तो बताओ. सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, let's continue taking all of your stock related queries, viewers, and I'm going to come to you with the next one, Osho. We've already gotten Lancelot's take coming in on Star Health. I just wanted to check for our viewer named Satya, who's writing to us about Star Health, that he's holding at a 22% loss. Now, he's not mentioned his buy price, but he still has a loss on the counter. What do you have in mind when it comes to this particular counter?
See, Star Health has given a very strong breakdown around the zone of 500, 510 odd levels, and since then the counter is witnessing some kind of further correction. So I'm expecting that on the lower end, now on the technical front, we do not have any major support that can be seen in the near period. But overall, looking at the technical parameters, this counter is extremely oversold now. So there can be some kind of breather or pullback that can be seen in the coming period. But on the higher end, now 510 should be providing a very strong resistance in this counter. So until it breaches the zone of 510 on a decisive manner, the counter is expected to remain on the sidelines to negative perspective. So definitely one should try to keep this counter with a very strong stop loss around the zone of 455. That should be the stop loss that I will be recommending. On the higher end, if there will be any kind of reversal above 510, then only we can see a slow and gradual up move towards the next target of 560.
Well, the next query is from Siva from Chennai, and it's on Adani Ports. It's currently holding around 400 shares, bought at a price of 1500 rupees per share. The stock is down more than 20% in the last 4 months. Osho, he wants to know whether should he average more at this level or continue to hold the number of shares he has, or just exit this counter.
See, currently Adani is having a very sell-off kind of a feature in the overall time period. So I expect that this can continue in the coming period also. On the lower end, the strong support is placed around the zone of 1240, 1230 odd level. So that is the stop loss that one should keep in this counter. And if there will be any kind of reversal, because looking at the overall trend, it is into a cycle of lower lows and lower highs. So until it breaches the zone of 1350 on the higher end, till that time, it is expected to remain on the downside. So it's better to keep a stop loss of 1245 for this counter and hold it for short-term perspective.
Well, absolutely. So that's a take coming in. As far as Adani Ports is concerned, Lansdowne, I'm going to come right back to you because we do have Sundar who's writing to us from Delhi, wants to know about PFC, 400 shares at a buy price of 467 rupees. What do you have in mind from a medium to long term for this particular counter?
So I think the long term, as financing in the power sector will remain a good option. But, given the short term constraints in terms of, the NPAs and also the net interest margins being difficult with interest rates not going down in a hurry, I think in the short term, over the next 2-3 quarters, you could see a little bit more pressure in terms of revenue growth as well as profit growth. So one should wait for things to settle down before, adding this kind of stock to your long-term portfolio.
Right. The next query is from Vidya from Chennai. She's a short-term trader and she's looking to do a fresh entry in 2 counters, that is M&M and TVS Motor. Osho, is it a right time to enter both these counters?
This counter is looking very positive. It is the only counter from the auto space which is holding on the higher levels. And overall, the sales figure were also very positive and it is having a very strong coming future. So I expect that here onwards, there can be a decent up move. But looking at the overall scenario in the market, one should not be very much aggressive in buying positions as of now. But Mahindra and Mahindra looks very much promising on the technical levels. On the lower end, it is having a very strong support near the zone of 2680, 2700 odd level. So that should be seen as a cushioning support for this counter, while on the higher end, the time it breaches the zone of 3000 approximately on the higher end, we can see nearly 300 point of rally in this counter. So one should accumulate this counter in a staggered manner, not very aggressively, some quantity around the same current level, some quantity around the zone of 2700. And in the coming future, we can expect a target of 3000 followed by 3300 from short to medium term time frame.
All right, so that's the take coming in as far as those two counters are concerned. Lancelot, I'm going to come right back to you because we do have Sri writing to us from Bangalore, wants to know about Vari Renewable Technologies. Now, I understand that the chart history is limited, but what do you have in mind in terms of a good entry point for this one? What do you think about this particular counter?
So if it is, on a fundamental basis, the business of this company can be significantly impacted by developments that may come up in the US, especially because a major part of their business is flowing from that region. So it's better to wait to see the policy decisions that are being taken, because the changes in those policy decisions can change the valuation of this company. And then, today it might look attractive, but it could be very expensive given the environment changes that we are likely to see. So I would say that it's better to wait for, the next 2-3 months, let the policy decisions come in. Once there is clarity on how the renewable sector is going to shape up in the US, then one will get a better understanding of whether one can look at this, investment at that time.
Well, we'll get back to addressing your queries, but firstly, an ET Now news break has been confirmed. Agrotech Food has bought Del Monte and they have received the approval. Let's go across to Sumita for more details on the same.
Yes, indeed. That's the confirmation coming in, Swami, that Agrotech Foods has approved the acquisition of 100% stake of Del Monte Foods. And of course, it will be considering for the acquisition the issue of shares to shareholders of the company as well. Remember, just a couple of days back, we had mentioned that Samara capital-backed Agrotech Foods was in advanced discussion to acquire Del Monte Foods. It was about the acquisition of Bharti Enterprises stake in the company. Bharti was seeking to sell its 50% equity holding in Del Monte Foods, and these discussions back then were in the final stages, and they seem to have concluded now. Remember, Bharti was looking to sell its 50% equity stake in the company. Remember, because Bharti has been focusing on Airtel and broadband as its core business areas, and Del Monte was always a non-core part of the business. And of course, there were some concerns which industry insiders have said that Del Monte was perhaps not able to compete with larger packaged foods businesses. So that news break now coming in.
All right, thank you so much for getting us all of those important details, Sumita. That's an ET Now news break confirmed for you right there. But moving on then to your stock-related queries, let's continue taking all of your stock-related queries. And for the next one, Osho, I'm going to come right back to you because we do have Balan writing to us about 3 counters that he's keeping on his radar. So Mascon Dock, NTPC as well as ITC are the ones that he's looking at. He wants to know if he can buy fresh into any of these 3 counters. What do you have in mind?
See, overall, all these counters from a longer term perspective looks very good, but in the short term duration, majority of the counters are hovering with a negative sentiment. The technical parameters are quietly comfortable and still expected to have some kind of correction in the coming period. So firstly, MASDOC is having a decent support around the zone of 3900 where it is currently trading, and if there will be any kind of plunge, then it can see a kind of a correction towards the zone of 3650, 3700 odd levels. So I would recommend to stay very light on the positions. Approximately 10%, 20% kind of accumulation can be done at current levels and wait for further correction in MASDOC in the coming period. NTPC again relatively is looking much better because it is having a very strong nearby support around the 200-day simple moving average around the zone of 370. So again, it will be advised on the same line that one should be very light in accumulating NTPC also from medium to longer term perspective. So both the counters are looking good from longer term duration, but the short term charts are indicating that there can be some further correction in the coming period. So one should stay or one should adopt their accumulation strategy accordingly.
Is coming in from Sangeeta from Pune. She wants to know any good IT stock that she can entry at current level. Lancelot, any views on any of the good IT stocks?
I think if you look at the numbers of Cyient, they had they had shown a good revenue growth, and as well as they're bagging a couple of new orders. So I think that had shown a good amount of traction in terms of certainty of revenue growth as well as earnings. And since the price has corrected a bit, valuations seem to be reasonable. One can look at adding that to the portfolio.
Well, absolutely. So that's a take coming in on those IT counters right there. I'm going to continue taking all of the stock related queries that are pouring in at this point. And the next one that we have is coming in from Shashidhar Reddy, who's writing to us from Hyderabad, Osho. Wants to know about a couple of counters. Now, the ones that he has on his radar are Cochin Shipyard, buy price 1,922, as well as NHPC 95 rupees as his buy price. He's not mentioned how many shares he's holding on to, but what do you have in mind when it comes to Cochin Shipyard as well as NHPC?
See, for Cochin Shipyard, this counter is into a very strong correction, has been hovering below the 200-day simple moving average. But the positive front is we are witnessing a negative divergence on the technical parameter. So that implies that in the coming period, we can see a kind of reversal in this counter. But looking at the overall momentum for the time being, there has been a steep correction from the zone of 2,800 towards 1,300 at current levels. But on the lower end, I am expecting that the support should be seen around the zone of 1,260 1,270 kind of a zone. So one should stay intact with their investment position in this counter. In the coming period, we can see a gradual up move because overall the technical indicators are showcasing a negative divergence with the fall in the price. So there can be a decent move in the coming future for Cochin Shipyard. And can you please mention the other counters name?
Yeah, so in addition to Cochin Shipyard, I think the counter that we had was NHPC. The buy price was 95 rupees that Shashidhar has. So what do you have in mind for this one as well?
See, for NHPC, again, it is also having the same kind of a format. It has also seen a very steep plunge. While on the lower end, there was a very strong support around 85, but that has been broken down in the recent period. So I expect that there can be a further correction or not correction, then there can be a consolidation from the zone of 72 to 85. So this is the consolidation zone for this counter. Technically, again, parameters have been into oversold territory. So in the coming future, there can be a relief or a pullback that can be seen. But one should become aggressive once it crosses the zone of 85, 86 on the higher end, then one can definitely try to accumulate further or more quantity in their portfolio and can certainly see a 3-digit figure from medium term time.
Well, that was Osho's view when it comes to NHPC. Well, with that, let's slip into a short break and we'll address more of your queries post that.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now. And let's continue taking all of your stock related queries then. The next one that we have, Osho, is coming in from a viewer who's not mentioned his name, but he does have Tata Power on his radar. He has 390 shares that he's holding on to since April 2021. In fact, the buy price was 77 rupees per share. Is it advisable, he's asking, to hold till 2030 or sell at this point?
See, the time horizon is quite long. 2030 is approximately 5-6 years from here onwards, and overall the power sector is looking positive. Yes, there has been a steep correction in the recent period, and the overall market has seen that. But looking at the overall trend of this counter, it is into a very strong consolidation. In the last few months, there has been basically no returns that can be seen in this counter. There has been a very strong support around the zone of 400, where it is currently placed as of now. While on the higher end, there is a very strong resistance around the zone of 460. So this is the broader consolidation range for the counter. The time we witness a breakout above 460, then only we can see another 50 to 60 odd points of upside movement in the coming period. That is from short to medium term time frame. For a longer duration, definitely one should stay invested in this counter. Even if there will be further correction towards the zone of 380 in future, then also one should try to accumulate this counter at 380 odd levels also.
Well, Lancelot, the next query is coming in from Murli from Bangalore. He has around 2,000 shares of RCF bought at a price of 244 rupees. He wants to know whether should he continue to hold this counter or exit. Currently, he's sitting on a big loss.
So, RCF being a PSU player in the fertilizer space is not obviously the most efficient user of capital as well as higher returns. Yes, there was a view that the government is going to try to change their business model and provide them with things on the chemical front, etc. But at this point of time, when you look at the results that have played out, there's not much of improvement seen in the return of equity as well as their profitability. So one should look at moving out, and there are various other companies in the private sector which can be more attractive options.
All right, so lots of other interesting options, attractive options, except RCF. That's the take coming in from Lancelot as well. The next one that we have is coming in from Professor Thomas George Osho, and he's writing to us about the 200 shares of USL that he has at a buy price of 850 rupees. What do you have in mind when it comes to USL?
See, USL is, I do not track this counter, so I have no idea about this, but can you give me a full name of this script name?
United Spirits Osho.
Okay, United Spirits is actually at a very decent consolidation zone as of now. So from here onwards, we can see there can be a further correction or further consolidation that can be seen in overall trend, but the counter seems quite decent at current levels. There can be further movement on the higher end only because I'm having a positive outlook in this counter. It is at a very strong consolidation near the zone of 1440, 1480 odd levels, but the time we see a breakout above 1480, then we can definitely see a breakthrough around the zone of 1560 followed by 1600 odd levels. While on the lower end, the support is very nearby, approximately 1410 or 1415 is a very strong support for short-term duration. So I'm expecting that from here onwards, there can be a decent up move and one should stay invested from short-term perspective.
Right. The next query is from Karthi, and he has around 38 shares of Reliance Industries bought at a price of 1,505 rupees. He wants to know the future growth plans of Reliance Industries. Lancelot, any view on this on Reliance Industries?
Yeah, I think for Reliance Industries, the big value unlocking will come from its geo listing that will happen, maybe in the near future. So that is one thing. Plus, there is a huge focus on the retail business, and we should expect that this retail business focus of Reliance should play out in terms of significant business size as well as market share over the next 3 to 4 years. So these are some of the areas where you will see some amount of valuation unlocking as well as re-rating of the stock when these initiatives start to play out, and that will really propel the stock into another valuation space.
Or rather than wait, buy for value unlocking when it comes to big boy Reliance, and it's the geo listing that is going to be very important. That's the take coming in from Lancelot when it comes to Reliance. But I'm going to come right back to you, Osho, because we also have Geeta who's writing to us from Chennai, wants to know about NCC, 300 shares at a buy price of 340. What do you have in mind when it comes to NCC then?
Again, NCC, again from the PSU pack, is into a strong consolidation zone. The stock has attempted to give a reversal kind of a pattern near the zone of 310, 320, but again have seen some kind of resilience and again plunge back towards the strong support. So for now, there is a very strong nearby support for this counter. Approximately 270 is a very strong support. So if the view is for short term, one can definitely keep it with a stop loss of 270 on the lower end. And on the higher end, the time it surpasses the zone of 310 on a decisive manner or on a closing manner, then we can see a gradual shift in the trend towards the zone of 340. So 270 is the immediate support that should be kept as the stop loss. On the higher end, 310 to 312 is the immediate target for this counter.
Osho, the next query is from Jay Krishnan from Kerala. He has Hindustan Copper few shares bought at a price of 322. His holding period is medium term. He wants to know whether should he sell this counter and buy Trent.
See, overall, both the stocks are from a different space. So I expect that for Hind Copper, this counter is into overall the metal space is looking some negative for the time being, and there can be a further correction that can be seen. So overall, Hind Copper has seen a steep correction and has been hovering below all its technical moving average. So I expect that there can be a continuation to the lower trend. Approximately 240-45 is the immediate support that can be seen, providing some kind of cushion to this counter. And coming to Trent, definitely Trent has a very strong technical setup as compared to Hind Copper. So overall, there has been a decent correction in trend also from the higher zone, but that has cooled down the overbought territory of technical parameters towards the oversold. And I am expecting that from here onwards, there can be a decent move in trend in the upcoming period. So comparatively, trend setup is looking more promising than Hind Copper, but one should not be very much aggressive in taking position in either of the stocks. Even for trend also, one can start accumulating it, but in a staggered manner. It is having a very strong support around the zone of 6,000, 6,100. So that is a very strong support. So if there will be a further correction in this counter, 6,100 is the zone where one should try to accumulate it. While on the higher end, I am expecting a target of nearly 7,600 in a short-term period.
All right, and that's the take coming in even on Trent as well. But with that completely out of time, thank you so much, Osho, as well as Lancelot, for taking time out and patiently answering all of those queries. But with that completely out of time on this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now, from me, Shreyansi Singh, Swami Sarkar, as well as the entire team that put this show together. Thank you so much for tuning in. You don't go anywhere, because markets at noon with Somit and Cheryl will take all of the action forward.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.